I wouldn't want to be them.
To be honest, sometimes I make fun of them for staying in the lab all night.
Most of them seem pretty stressed out lots of the time, and I've heard my fair share of horror stories from them.
I would say they're very intelligent.
Smart, eccentric,
Exhausted, hardworking.
nerds.
I definitely think they have this stigma on campus of being kind of dorky.
They're really introverted.
Friendly.
They're really good with computers.
Some of them are kind of quiet, but once you get to know them and they open up, they can be hilarious.
Fortunately, the stereotype is true in a lot of ways. I mean, of course, there are a million exceptions. I would say like half of EECS is an exception, but then the other half is actually filled with these really quiet people who, you know, you just approach them and you're very friendly, and they seem like they don't want to talk to you at all.
It's sort of founded on the fact that there are some people who would rather do their work than interact with other people, and I think that's a very unfortunate way to view the world.
EECS is all about taking the simplest problems and finding the most elegant solution to it.
Engineers are a lot more interested in sort of thinking about problems abstractly, designing solutions around problems, and sort of learning more about the world in order to benefit themselves in their designs.
It so happens that for many people, programming computers is really fun.
I get in arguments with my friends about computer science stuff all the time. Like I remember one night with my floor mates who I program a lot with, we were just up like arguing about like the pettiest things, because I mean we're so interested in like science and like in computer science, even if it's just like the smallest matters.
There's actually two senses of the word in CS culture. There's hacker as in like I break into systems, and then there's hacker as in I enjoy designing things and sort of tinkering.
The hacker isn't somebody who's trying to get away with something. The hacker is somebody who's trying to figure out how things work.
And, you know, it's just sort of what life path you choose is sort of says a little bit about what you think is the most interesting part of life.
I think for Berkeley EECS that we are exposed to a lot of different info sessions and different kind of like companies coming in and stuff like that. I think that's something that we take it for granted.
We have what I think is the best lower division, the best 3 or 4 course sequence to get you into the upper division you could possibly imagine.
The UC system is actually really good about having CS professors who like to teach.
And in the upper division we have almost no prerequisite chains. So what that means is you come in and after a lower division you can take any class.
Here, especially Berkeley, it tends to focus on technical part, like more deeper than just trying to do something out of it. Digging into like the logics behind it, like more than just merely just doing it.
It's been really cool. It's sort of exciting to see people who are really interested in actually teaching people rather than just doing their research and then, you know, sort of, I guess I have to lecture sort of mentality.
I mean, without a doubt, EECS has a reputation of being very challenging, sort of crazy, and I think, you know, it's well deserved. The course load and the workload for those courses is extremely high.
To be fluent in computer science requires an incredible amount of work.
A lot of students coming here, the first requirement they have is take something like 61A, and if you have no computer science experience and you jump into 61A, it can be extremely challenging.
If you have a 4-unit CS course, you're going to work more hours for that 4-unit CS course than you work for a 4-unit course across campus.
You try to solve a problem and do a project, and you're hoping, because you're almost done, you're hoping that you'll be done in a couple hours. But because of one little tiny error that you can't find forever and ever, you spend the whole night there up until the deadline. I think that's the saddest part of being a programmer.
You have to like the process of creating something and then polishing it more, because the reality is when you produce a piece of software, it's not perfect the first time.
In the end, it all comes down to one little tiny thing that you forgot, or one little tiny parentheses, or one little thing that you didn't put, and just kind of finding that out is the most exhausting part.
So you have to kind of enjoy the process of producing a piece of work and then continuing to work on it and continue to polish it and add this feature and add this feature and kind of debug and debug and debug and debug.
Kind of going along that line, finding the error is the most satisfying part. Kind of sad to say.
It isn't a soft science, it's a very hard science in that there is a right answer, there is a working program. Computer science is evolving. It's such a new and young field that there are new languages, new tools, new features, new abilities, new abstraction levels. So all those things are changing at an incredible pace. So you have to really have bought into the idea that you're going to be learning forever.
But that's not something that worries me, really. It's just something that I see as, that means I'm getting into the right thing. Like, I don't want to get into a technology or get into a field where there's nothing changing. I think there's something wrong if you can do what you do as an 18-year-old when you're 50.
In the real world, they rightly worry a lot about whether your program works or not. You know, if you're flying in an airplane these days, the airplane is mostly being flown by computer programs. And you really want those programs to work.
CS majors like to design a quality product, and I think sometimes they sort of want to design this quality product and they sort of forget that sometimes you need to just sort of develop something to get into business rather than the good product.
Technology on its own is not enough to influence the world.
The programs have a place in society, and you might not imagine the negative implications of this program, but there are. As an example, you think how great the Prius is. The Prius you can drive and it's quiet and has no sound. But as a result of people driving a lot of Priuses, people who are visually disabled got hit more often.
There's a little bit of a tension between that, sort of making it in business versus developing something good for your business.
It's up to the engineer, up to the entrepreneur to really decide based on his own moral and ethics and what he believes in if he really wants to pursue things that will really benefit people's lives and if you're really solving some real issue.